Hey everyone, my name is Chelsea. Welcome to Little Mountain Ranch. I'm really happy to have you here with me today, where I am wearing a t-shirt for what I think may be the last time in 2024, at least outside. Just checking the weather forecast this morning, as I do almost every morning, and I saw that the temperatures are going to be dipping down to 0 and below 0 by Friday. So today is Monday. That means that I have my work cut out for me in the garden in the next couple of days. The other thing that I noticed on the weather forecast is that it is supposed to rain. So I want to take advantage of the fact that it is gorgeous today and spend some time in the garden getting things harvested. I also noticed when I was down in the high tunnel yesterday that some of the plastic had, or the tape that I had used to hold the plastic on in a couple of different spots had actually pulled off. And so now I have these big openings in my high tunnel that I need to fix so that when it gets really cold, hopefully it doesn't freeze in the high tunnel. So you can see right here how this one has come down. One of the things that I do need to take care of in the high tunnel before it hits that 0 is all of the peppers. I'm going to get those all picked. I can usually keep it above. Oh, there's a blackbird in here. Hang on. Well, hello. What are you doing in here? See you later. You going to go all the way out? So the blackbirds come in here to eat the seeds out of the sunflowers that I have in here. Like I was saying, I can usually keep the temperature above freezing if it hits around 0 outside in here by just keeping a couple of plug-in heaters in here. So for the tomatoes, I'm hoping to be able to get, I don't know, 4 or 5 more days out of the plants in here before I need to pull off all the tomatoes and bring them all in the house and finish ripening tomatoes inside, which is something I don't love doing just because it takes up a lot of space. The peppers are going to be easy to deal with because I just need to chop them all. And I can use my food processor with that dicing setting to get those all chopped, and then I'll either freeze dry them or just throw them right in the freezer. It does not look like I'm going to be getting very many red peppers because most of all of the peppers I have, whoops, are green, but look at how beautiful that pepper is. So I am probably going to buy a couple of boxes of mixed colored peppers like yellow and orange and red. I just like the sweetness of those for some recipes, but I am certainly not going to be lacking in green peppers this year. I have a bunch of banana peppers over there and jalapenos, which is great because I need to make a bunch more cowboy candy. So I have some Tabasco peppers down here, and a few of them are ripening, but this one was advertised as a green Tabasco pepper. So I'm going to be able to pick those and make my own Tabasco sauce, which is exciting. And then over here, I wonder if I have a tag on this one with the writing still on it. No. Oh dear. Anyways, I bought this other one, another hot pepper, that are these little tiny ones, and it must like more heat than I was able to give it because I hardly got any peppers on it at all. Lots more gorgeous jalapenos down there. Look at those. Aren't those beautiful? We are going to start with all of the squash. So I harvested, I think, 8 Cinderella pumpkins and 4 giant Geet okasamen. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. I think I'm probably not. But anyway, squash about 3 weeks ago when we ended up with a frost. Close this door up. But I was hoping to be able to leave them out in the garden for as long as possible to see how many that I could actually cure out in the garden. So I haven't looked at them since that time, so it'll be interesting to see how much they've grown and whether I have any more that have actually cured on the vine. The nice thing about squash is they're pretty easy to ripen and cure in the house or on a covered porch away from the frost. Usually squash and pumpkins can handle a light frost, but if it is a harder frost like we're going to be getting on Friday, it can actually impact the skin, and if that freezing gets down kind of past the skin layer, then it affects how well they'll store. So I definitely want to get them all pulled out now. I think I might have left my clippers in the garden the last time we were out here together instead of putting them in the greenhouse over there, which is where I normally store them. my goodness, look at that. I have another zucchini in here. That's probably the latest I have ever seen a zucchini in my garden. If you're new here, we're in British Columbia, Canada, and we garden in a zone 3B with around 110 frost-free days, give or take. Found the clippers and they're not rusted, so that's good. Okay, let's go on a treasure hunt in here and see what we can find. Oh my goodness, look at that beautiful pumpkin. Oh my goodness, this one's called Jardale and it is beautiful. It's certainly grown since we saw it last. And look at that, we have some almost entirely ripened butternut squash. So you can see the frost damage from that frost we had 3 weeks ago on here. But the ones that were over in this part of the garden had less frost damage than the ones that are way down there. And they have been able to continue growing and photosynthesizing and growing out these beautiful squash. Look at that gorgeous one. It has almost fully cured on the vine. So what you're looking for with curing is that this stem part here will be completely dry and brown. Like this one, still a bit of green on there, but that's awesome. So that's a giant green Hubbard squash. We got these little cuties in here that are not cured. You can see how green that is, but it's definitely starting. So let's just get in here and pull all the squash out and see how many we end up with. I have a suspicion that it's going to be better than I was anticipating. When I planted all of these squash, we ended up with a really cold spring and nothing was growing very well at all. And I didn't think we were going to get a very good squash harvest, but then we ended up with this beautiful hot summer and a little bit of an extended summer, and now we have so many beautiful squash. Look at that pretty one. So I can just tromp all over these now since I'm going to rip these vines out when we're finished in here. And I compost all of my, everything that comes out of my garden unless it is diseased in some way. And I usually just throw these right down into my big compost pile that's down over the fence over here. And then my cows and my horses will eat whatever it is they want to eat. And then the rest gets turned in for our compost next year. So I'm going to be taking all of these squash and putting them on my covered porch, and then on Friday when it's supposed to get down to 0, I'll probably bring them inside and finish curing them in my kitchen windows. I was not sure how growing squash right here was going to go because right behind us is Dan's shop and it shades out this bed a little bit, but they seem to have grown well in here. I just covered this area with landscape fabric, or sorry, weed barrier, because this area was completely infested with grass, but I didn't want to just lose the growing space altogether, so I planted squash in here. So excited to get some butternuts. They're one of my favorites. They're so sweet. There's definitely not a ton of squash in here, and not very many decent size butternuts. Most of them are really tiny. I love Hubbard squash, but I've never grown green Hubbard before. Isn't that beautiful? I usually grow the blue ones. We've got some beauties out here. It's so exciting. Just gonna get everything clipped. Friends, there are 4 more giant green Hubbards in here. I'm so excited. think, oh my gosh, there's 6 friends. Wow. That is amazing. I cannot believe how prolific these guys are. And they're huge. The nice thing about the Hubbards is it's usually a nice, dense flesh that's quite sweet. So really good multi-purpose. And out of all of those squash, I only have one that has been nibbled on, which is really not bad at all. Oh, you know what I didn't do over here? I planted these vining acorn squash, and I have never really been successful with growing acorn squash up here, but these were quite prolific. Oh my goodness, this is so amazing. So I shared this in my last video where we were picking the pumpkins, that when you're harvesting them, try to cut them off so that you have some stem left, because they store better that way. They'll still store for a little bit with the stem off, but not quite as well as with the stem on. So many of these butternuts, and they're way further along in the ripening process than they usually are for me. Normally they're quite green all the way around, but they are starting to turn their nice creamy color. I want to see if I can find the tag for these ones. These ones I bought from a local nursery, so I don't have it listed in my notes of what I started, but I'd like to find the tag, because it's a really nice, quite prolific acorn type squash. I cannot find the tag in this jungle. I am so impressed with these Hubbard squashes. That is a lot of squash for just 2 plants of the big ones. Usually the larger squashes only grow a few squash per plant, like 2. And actually it's not a bad idea if you're looking to get really big squash to cut off any more than 2, and that way the plant can put its energy into growing really big ones. That's especially true if you're trying to grow giant pumpkins for your kids for Halloween. I'll show you mine in a minute. Wow. That's fantastic. That makes me so happy. So this on top of what we're going to pick down over there, and all of the Geet Okasamen and Cinderella pumpkins that we picked the other day, is going to definitely give us enough squash for the winter, which is just really fantastic. See what we have when we go over to that pile over there, but I think I got pretty much all the squash out of this one, and we have 58 squash here. Yay! I just don't think there's anything more beautiful in the garden than a variety of squash like that. Okay, let's head down over this way. The blackbirds are eating all of my sunflower seeds. That's what they're there for. And they are actually going to deposit quite a few of the seeds in the ground. And then we'll get beautiful sunflowers like this next year, because all of these sunflowers that you can see, except for the red one, are all volunteer. And this thing has happened with the hybridization of my sunflowers that all of them, pretty much without fail, have multiple heads on them. Most of them with over, I don't know, I'd say 30 or 40 sunflower heads on them. And I just love that so much. So as you can see here, these ones were hit way harder by the squash, or not the squash, the frost. And they just didn't do as well in general on this spot. I just don't think they got enough water up here. So these ones are sugar pumpkins. They're one of the best for making pies. What the heck happened there? What on earth? Like, grew one out the side that didn't make it. Not sure what that is. It looks like it's a small Dill's Atlantic. My Burgess buttercup are so small this year. I find that the Burgess don't do as well in storage as some of the other winter squash do. I'll show you why I think that in just a second here. They have awesome flavor, but you can see this bump and ridge around the bottom. And this is usually where they start rotting. So one of the things that I do before I put my squash into storage is I'll give them a wipe down with some type of disinfectant solution, like a diluted bleach solution, or you can use essential oils too, which I've done in the past, to just kind of kill any spores that might be on them at all. But the Burgess, it's hard to get down inside that groove there. I don't want to complain about being hot right now, because I am pretty sure this is the last day of the year that I'm going to be hot when I'm outside. But I am getting warm because the sun is toasty. It's supposed to hit 24 degrees today. And then like fairly warm nighttime temperatures tonight, like 10 degrees. But then it drops. These little tiny ones are for autumn decorations on the table. These are like mini squash. Whoops, oh shoot, compared to the other ones. I haven't really traipsed around in here much to see what's in this patch. Mostly really tiny sugar pumpkins in here. This is where I thought we might find some spaghetti squash, but I don't see any in here. I see lots of pumpkin pie in our future. This is so weird. I think this is the first year that I have not had spaghetti squash, and I'm starting to think that maybe I didn't plant any. Actually, you know what? These ones that are here don't have any actual squash on them. So I'll bet you these were the spaghetti squash, and for whatever reason, they just didn't grow. Okay, we're gonna see if I can get this big, gigantic pumpkin out of here. That is humongous. Definitely not. I'm gonna have to get down to come and grab that. For me, it is absolutely enormous. Okay, come on. Oh. And then we have one lone Cinderella pumpkin left. Looking beautiful. So that puts me well over 80 squash for this year, not including the big pumpkins because those ones are for Halloween for carving up, but I'm really happy with that. I think the best year I ever did was 250 squash, and that's when I planted them up where my potatoes are, up there. It tends to get frost way later up there than it does down over here because we get all that cold air rolling in off of the fields. It's usually 5 to 10 degrees colder down there this time of year than it is up here, and most definitely up over there. If I could go back and have known that when I first started gardening out here, I probably would have put this garden up over there. This is the original site of the original garden that was here when we moved in. It was just up over that way, just a small garden on the other side of the little greenhouse there. But I would have put it up there just because that gives me an extra probably week or two of frost-free being up over there. But it is what it is now, so now I just have to prepare for the frost when it happens. And I say that I'm going to every year, and then every year, oh, it hits me unawares. This year, it was just a fluke that I hadn't checked the weather the night before. We had company that night, and I just didn't check. So that's how I got hit with this frost. But that's okay, because it's been very warm for the last couple of weeks, and we have an awesome squash harvest. So that's fantastic. All right, friends, that is going to be it for me today. In the next video, we are going to harvest all of the peppers, probably a bunch of the tomatoes too, most likely. We're also going to get all of the carrots picked because, well, carrots do tend to sweeten up with a bit of frost. If it gets too cold and the shoulders that are sticking out of the ground get too much frost, then it doesn't store, or get too cold, then they don't store as well. And I'll show you my carrots over here. I'll have the shoulders sticking out of the ground. Like you can see, look at the size of that carrot. Oh my goodness, look at that beautiful carrot. Oh dear, now I want to pick carrots because it's the same kind of treasure hunt as picking the squash, because you can't really see how big they are until they are pulled out of the ground. And I have a feeling this is going to be my best carrot year ever. And I kind of just want to get them pulled out. But you know what? I got to get all these squash up to the house. I still have some more canning to do in the kitchen with tomatoes that I pulled out of the greenhouse, I don't know, a couple of days ago now. So I should pace myself. So maybe we'll do the carrots and the peppers in the next video. I hope that you enjoyed this video, everyone, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye. All right, friends, so yesterday, no, it was the day before, I don't know, a couple of days ago when I was out getting all those squash. The following day, we went out and pulled out all of the vines and found many more squash. So now I have over 100 squash for the pantry, which is so exciting. So I just wanted to show them all to you. So we have all of these pumpkins. These are the beautiful Cinderella pumpkins. Aren't they gorgeous? That beautiful Jardale. The Geet Okasamen. And look at this mountain of the green Hubbards. I am so excited about that. Hi, Simon. And then we have all of these beautiful squash over here. And it keeps going and it keeps going. So these are some of those little tiny buttercup squash that we're hiding in underneath there. But this is quite exciting to me. So we're going to be doing lots of fun things with squash over the next couple months, that's for sure. All right, friends, see you again next time. Bye.